Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our special Brave Girls virtual story time with author and former NASA spacesuit technician Sharon Caples McDougle as she reads her 2021 picture book, Suit Up for Launch with Shay. And Sharon is then going to answer all of our young readers' questions. My name is Emma, and I'm the Associate Educator of Digital Learning and Innovation at the National Women's History Museum. And just to get us started, I'm going to ask how many people are joining you today. So if you could just answer that poll that's appearing at the bottom of your screen. So a few housekeeping notes. Sharon will be answering questions at the end of her reading. You are welcome to ask your questions at any time during the program by using the Q&A function on the toolbar. We're not going to be able to get to all of your questions, but we're going to do our best. Sharon is really excited and happy to answer your questions, so please put those in the Q&A. And with that, I would like to introduce our author. Sharon Caples McDougle is an American retired spacesuit technician for National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, a crew chief and a manager of the Space Shuttle Crew Escape Equipment Processing Department. She is the first Black woman to serve in these roles. She suited up Mae Jemison, the first Black woman in NASA's astronaut corps for the STS-47. McDougle led the first all-woman team of spacesuit technicians in support of STS-78. McDougle worked with NASA's launch and entry suits. She maintained and repaired spacesuits and dressed astronauts for training events and space missions. She was the first Black person and second woman to work as a spacesuit technician. And with that, I'm going to share a small, short video that Sharon has shared with us.
Dr. Jemison worked closely with an expert named Sharon McDougle. She was the first Black woman to lead a special team responsible for the astronauts' suits. McDougle realized that Dr. Jemison's suit didn't fit. The suit was designed for men because there were very, very few women astronauts. So McDougle made changes so that Dr. Jemison's suit would fit and keep her safe. Finally, it was time for launch.
With that, I would love to welcome Sharon to the screen.
Hi, everybody.
We are so excited to have you, and I'm going to turn it over.
All right, let's get started. Suit up for launch with Shay. Get ready. Wake up, Shay. Today it'll just be you and me, sweetie. What do you want to do? Shay yawns as she gets out of bed, and then she perks up and says, let's play dress up. Mama says, okay, let's do it. What do you want to dress up as? Shay thinks for a moment. A princess? Nah. Ooh, what about a pilot? I could fly a plane. Nah. Ooh, a doctor. I can operate on people and help save lives. Nah. Ooh, a cowgirl. I do live in Texas, and we love rodeo. Nah. Ooh, a scientist. I can cure diseases. Nah. Ooh, a firefighter. I can be a hero and help save people out of burning houses. Nah. I don't know, Mama, Shay says, defeated. Then Shay's face lights up and she exclaims, I want to dress up as an astronaut. Y'all saw that coming, huh? Mama smiles and says, okay, astronaut Shay, but before we begin, what's this on the screen? There's something on the screen right there. There we go. Before we begin, I will have to make sure you learn all about the suit astronauts wear to launch into outer space before you suit up. Mama tells Shay, astronauts start their day with a good breakfast. They need their energy to wear their suit and work all day long. There's the family having breakfast. After breakfast, Mama and Shay walk back to Shay's bedroom. Mama says, okay, Shay, let me tell you about the spacesuit. But before Mama can begin telling Shay about the suit, she begins asking questions rapidly. Why is the suit orange, Mama? What is it made of? How do you put it on? How long does it take to put it on? How do you go to the bathroom in it? Inquiring minds want to know. Mama says, whoa, slow down, Shay. That's a lot of questions, but some very good ones. I'm so glad you're excited to learn about the spacesuit. Have a seat and I will tell you all about it. Mama continues, the orange spacesuit is their launch and entry suit. The astronauts wear this suit when they launch into space and when they're ready to come back home. It's worn for protection in case of an emergency aboard the rocket or if they have to escape from the rocket. Once they get into space, they take off their suits and pack them up until it's time for them to come back home. Mama asked Shay, did you know it only takes about 8 minutes to get into space after they blast off? Shay says, no, Mama. Mama says, that's because they're traveling. There you go. Traveling 17,500 miles per hour. Shay replies, wow, that's fast. And you guys thought you were traveling fast in the car with your moms and dad, huh? That's fast. Shay goes right into her next question. What is the suit made of, Mama? Mama explains, the suit isn't like your regular clothes. It has several layers. A bladder, which is sort of like the inner tube of a bicycle tire. The link net layer, which is sort of like the inner tube of a bicycle tire. I'm sorry, the link net layer, which is sort of like a fishing net, and an orange cover, which is the outer protective layer. Mama continues, the bladder is the inside layer that seals and inflates like a balloon, but it won't inflate if it's not zipped up all the way and snapped. The helmet and gloves also have to be attached to the suit and locked in place for the suit to inflate. Make sure everything click, clack, snap. Click, clack, snap. Can y'all say click, clack, snap? Oh, I hear everybody saying click, clack, snap. Shay asks with a perplexed look on her face, but Mama, won't it float away? Mama answers with a chuckle, no, baby, it won't float away. Mama continues, the next layer is like a net with shoelaces. It helps the bladder keep its shape and makes it easier for the astronaut to bend her legs and arms. Shay says, wait, Mama, shoelaces on the suit? Mama replies, yes, baby. The shoelaces can be adjusted to help make the arms, legs, and waist a little shorter or a little longer. Shay replies, oh, I get it. Kind of like when you tie on your shoes and you tighten them up, you make them smaller. But when you loosen them up, you make them bigger. Same thing. Mama continues on. Scroll up a little bit. Thank you. Continues on to the next layer. Then there's the orange outer cover of the suit. Shay asks, why is it orange, Mama? Mama explains, the suit is orange so it can be seen easily in the ocean or on land if the astronauts have to bail out or escape from the rocket. Shay exclaims, cool, I like orange. And orange is an international help color, easy to see, can't blend in with anything, right? Shay asks, how do the astronauts put on the suit, Mama? Mama says, well, while they're here on Earth, they have people who help them put their suits on. They're called suit technicians, suit techs for short. The suit techs lay the suits on the floor and pull the arms and legs halfway inside out. Shay asks, a little bit confused, why do they have to lay the suit on the floor? Mama explains, because it's not like regular pants and shirts. The suit has a long zipper that starts at the top of their back, right way up here, and comes all the way around to the front to the belly button and snaps. Shay says, oh. Go ahead, you could go up some, scroll up some. Mama continues, but before the astronauts put on their suit, they have to put on something else. Can you guess what that is? Shay answers, jumping up and down, I know. They have to put on their underwear. Mama says, yes, they have to put on their underwear and socks. But it's not like your underwear. Did you know? You come back down a little bit. Did you know? There you go. Did you know they wear special underwear? Shay says, special underwear, Mama? Mama says, yes. Their underwear is a special type of long john that has small tubing sewn all throughout it. Very, very cold water runs through the tubing to help keep the astronauts nice and cool inside that hot suit. Mama continues with a sly look on her face. But there's one more thing they have to put on first. Shay asks with wide eyes, what, Mama, what? Mama says in a low, secretive voice, the first thing astronauts put on is a diaper. How many want to still be an astronaut? Raise your hand. Shay says loudly with disgust, ew, a diaper like a... Mama replies, yes, a diaper like a baby. But guess what? Some of them wear pull-ups like big boys and girls. Shay laughs heartily. That's funny, Mama. Shay thinks a little bit and says, but they're grown-ups. Why do they have to wear diapers? Mama responds, well, once they get strapped into the rocket, they can't get up and go to the bathroom like, normally do. They lie on their backs for about 3 hours before they launch into space. So if they have to go number 1 or number 2, they'll have to use their diaper. Shay says, ew, that's gross. Mama continues with a smile. Now let's get back to putting on the suit. The astronauts are not superheroes. They put their suit on one leg at a time, just like we do. Then they put their arms in and pop their head through the neck seal of the suit, just like when you pull your shirt over your head. Now, even though the neck seal is stretchy, it can still be a little hard to pop their head through because it's the size of their neck. So to help make it a little easier, some of them wear a Teflon cap called a skull cap to cover their hair and make their head nice and smooth, almost like they're bald-headed. So when they put their suit on, like I said, they put one leg at a time. So you'll put one leg in and kind of shimmy and scoot it up, put the other leg in, kind of shimmy and scoot it up. Then you're bent over, arm, and I'll pull it up for them. Then they'll put their other arm, so they're kind of like in a motorcycle position. And then they'll dip down and pop their head through the neck seal. And then they'll stand up, and I become a TSA agent, like at the airport. And I have to go all inside their suit with my hands and make sure everything's nice and flat and straightened out before I zip it up. Okay, go ahead. Shay asks, so now are they ready to get into the rocket? Mama says, not quite. Shay asks impatiently, what else do they have to put on, Mama? She's starting to think about she should have dressed up as something else, huh? Mama replies, next they have to put on their boots and lace them up nice and snug. Then they put on their communications cap so they can talk to each other while they're in the rocket and talk to mission control too. Then they put on their helmet and make sure to make it click and lock it onto the suit, and then connect that to the communications cap. The oxygen flows to the helmet so the astronauts can breathe. So it's just right here. It's a spray bar across the top of the helmet with a bunch of little holes in it. And it just puts oxygen right here because that's the only place you need it, right? So you can breathe. The helmet is also worn for protection, just like when you wear your helmet when you're riding your bike or skateboarding, so they don't bump their head. Shay asks, now are they ready? Mama says, no, baby. The last thing they put on are their gloves. And they have to make sure they do what? Shay says loud and proud, make it click. Mama says while laughing, that's right. Shay asks again, are they ready now, Mama? Mama says excitedly, yes. Shay says, wow, that's a lot of stuff. Shay's in there right now pulling out her princess dress out the drawer. She's giving up on the astronaut probably. That's a lot of stuff. But Mama replies, I know it sounds like a lot, but it only takes about 5 minutes to put everything on. So Mama asks Shay, so do you still want to dress up as an astronaut? Shay replies a bit unsure, I don't know, Mama. Mama asks, are you sure? As she pulls a spacesuit from Shay's closet, just Shay's size. Shay's eyes get big and she says, wow, thank you, Mama, thank you. And that is the end. The whole family's back home.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for
You're welcome.
with us, and I apologize that I got a bit overexcited on the scrolling.
That's
The
okay.
pictures are just so nice, and I just kind of wanted to read ahead.
That's
So
okay.
that is on me. Now, I know that we have a lot of people who are very interested in asking questions, and I've seen some come through on the chat. But again, if you have questions for Sharon, please make sure that you put them either in the chat or the Q&A function, and we'll make sure that we ask Sharon. So one of the questions that came through on the chat is, once the astronauts are in space, how do they put the spacesuits back on if they've taken them off?
So they have the buddy system. They will help each other put their suits on. And it's a little more difficult because it's moving around and floating. Remember, there's no gravity. So for approximately a year, they have suited training events. So they have about 25 to 30 events where they'll go train in the mock-up, and they'll be putting the suits on and off, learning how to stow them away once they get to space. And so they help each other. So they take them off, pack them up in like a little duffel bag, and they stow them away once they get to space. And then when it's time to come home, they take all our equipment out and they help each other. So they practice here on Earth for a year, suiting each other up, and us helping them suit up too. So we can show them the proper way to don and doff the suit that's put on and take off, and also the proper way to stow it away once they get, because we don't want them to damage the equipment. It has to function.
Well, I love the idea of a buddy system. I think we could all learn from a buddy system. Another question that just came through also about the suit. Someone wants to know if you ever got to wear a suit.
Oh, I wore the suit all the time. Even in the Air Force, I got to wear a suit because we want to know what it feels like when we're doing the test on the suits while the pilots and the crew members, the astronauts, are suited up. When we test them, the suit does say it has an allowance, but it can't go over a certain amount. So we have to have them, when they're inside the suit and we pressurize it, they have to hold their breath at certain points for us to take a reading from our test stands. So yeah, we get in them all the time because we want to feel what it's like. We've actually gone through training events. I've actually flown the simulator wearing the suit. So we can know as much about it. I mean, we know how to take it apart, put it back together, and test it while it's just laying on the table. But we need to know how the astronaut's feeling while they're wearing it as well.
So you mentioned that you used to wear the suit even when you were in the Air Force. So I'd love to know a little bit more about you and your time at NASA and also in the Air Force.
Of course. The Air Force was the reason I was able to get the job to work with the space program. I graduated high school and I joined the Air Force right out of high school, and you have to take a test, and they use your test scores in the different sections to decide what career to place you in. So I didn't even choose my career. I had no idea what I was going to do. My test in the Air Force chose my career for me. So they put me in aerospace physiology. So that was my career. And that was actually working with the altitude chamber and the dive chamber, the hyperbaric and the hypobaric chambers. So that was my real job. But by being stationed at Beale Air Force Base, that was the home of the SR-71 Blackbird aircraft and the U-2 reconnaissance aircraft. And they wore the pressure suits. So we got on the job training actually at the base to learn about the suits. And so we would suit them up. And like I mentioned earlier, you want to know how it feels and stuff for the pilots. So we suited them up. We would prepare their seat kits, their parachutes, and load it into the aircraft. We would come back and suit up the crew members, the pilots, and then we test them before they go out. And then we drive them out to the flight line, walk them up the steps to get into the aircraft. And then we would lie down it's a tall ladder with a platform called a how down. And we would have to strap everything in, we had things like spurs that went on their boots, not like cowboy spurs, but spurs with the opening. There was a balling cable inside the aircraft and it hooks to that boot. So if they had to eject or, it would snap their legs back so they wouldn't get chopped off in the process. And so we'd have to lay down, do that, hook up their oxygen, hook up their communications, hook up everything, do the 5-point system, make sure they're locked in there. And then we'd go back and wait for them to come back and we would recover them. Same with the space shuttle, pretty much the same exact job, because the suits came from the Air Force. They originally got the suits, from the Air Force, the pressure suits, and they were a gold color and they became orange. Well, they went through several colors. They were blue at one point and then they became orange. And then like I said, the space shuttle, same thing pretty much.
Right. So saying click and snap was important in the Air Force and at NASA.
Very much so, because that was the way for them to know it was engaged and locked. And with the neck ring, you can't lock it unless it is. It's like a bunch of dogs that they have to, that makes a clicking sound in the neck ring part. So when they put on the helmet, they have to go around all the way around it and push until they don't hear any more clicks. Because once all the clicks are gone, then it's locked. And it won't let you lock it It has a locking mechanism on the neck ring. You can't lock it unless all of the dogs are, you heard all the clicks, all of them are clicked.
Very cool.
Mhm.
So we have a question from Aurora in Miss Erickson's third grade class, who's joining us today from Chicago. And Aurora wants
Awesome.
to know, is the suit comfy?
It really is. It really is. The original launch entry suit, it was called the LES. It would squeeze against your body. Whereas when when the advanced crew escape suit came along, it pushes away. So it's like when you inflate it, it pushes away. But they do have a G suit that's separate from the pressure suit. It's a separate entity. It looks like chaps, like cowboy chaps. They put this on and they wear it when they're getting ready to return to Earth. And they pressurize it to about 1.5 PSI to keep all of their fluids from going to their lower extremities when they're coming back into the Earth's atmosphere. So, they might get a little lightheaded or woozy. So they'll put that on when it's time to come back home before they put their suit on, and then put their suit over it. And they can pressurize it from the outside of the suit. So that part is tight.
But still sounds kind of like comfortable pajamas. I don't know about anyone else.
It's really not. It's not. It's kind of a baggy. And mind you, they're not walking around with everything on. Whenever you guys see them walking out of the building, waving to the cameras and stuff, and getting to the big silver van, they just left our suit up room. We just suited them up and tested them, and now they're coming to get in the band. They only have on their boots and their suit. All the other equipment, the helmet and the gloves and the CCA are in like a little bowling ball, but like a little bowling ball bag sitting in the band, and they'll ride out with them. So they're not walking around with the parachute and all that stuff on. And the parachute is the heaviest thing. So the suit by itself is probably about 25 pounds, if that. So in the neck ring is the awkward heavy part right around their neck. So it's not bad at all.
Oh, well, we just got some inside scoop there about what the astronauts are actually wearing. All right. So another question from someone is, how do you wash or clean the spacesuit?
Okay, the bladder part, when they've done a training event and they come back, we bring the suits back to our building. We have a drying locker. We'll hang the suits in there. We'll invert the legs and arms, pull them inside out. And we have a stericidal spray is what it was called. You would spray the bladder down to get all the germs off, kind of like a hand sanitizer liquid. You spray it all in there to get all of the germs out, because the astronauts, is not just their suit. Astronaut wore it today, tomorrow, astronaut Jane might wear it. Astronaut Joe might wear it, whoever might wear it. It's not just their suit. That's why we have to have a capability to adjust it and size it. You have small, medium, large, extra large, and then you do adjustments to fit the next person that's going to wear it. So anyway, you pull it inside out, you spray it down, you let it hang in the drying locker and dry. If the cover gets dirty, it unzips off of the suit, the orange cover, and we just put it in the washing machine like regular clothes and hang dry it.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So another question from Wells in Miss Erickson's third grade class, where do you get the materials to make the suit?
The suit is actually made by a company called David Clark. Well, when I was there, it was made by David Clark in Massachusetts. And they would make the suit. They had seamstresses and everything there. They send the suits to us and we would maintain them. Like when they're due to have a seal changed out, we take it apart, put it back together. The bladder is like the whole suit pretty much. The bladder is. So if it expires, like it has a 3-year shelf life, if it expires, then we could change out the bladder, or it can become a class 3 training only, never go to space again suit. You know what I'm saying? So they would never go to space in it, but they could train in it still because the bladder has expired. It's no good. Well, no good to fly anymore. It's still good to train in, but no good to go to space anymore because it expired. So yeah, we take it apart, all the way apart, put it back together constantly. It has 90-day inspections that have to be done. It has overhauls that have to be done. That's when you take every piece part apart, change all the screws, change all the seals, lube, do everything. So that's how it is. Yeah, we don't make the suit at where we were. We didn't make it. We just maintain it.
Right. And I think an excellent example of reduce, reuse, recycle, since
Yeah,
you're reusing the suit so many times.
Exactly. Now, like you have certain suits that only go in the pool, the training for the pool. They'll never get used for anything but that, to go in the pool.
Very cool. All right. Now we've got 2 questions from members of Ms. Erickson's class about bodily functions.
Okay.
So Andrew wants to know, what happens if you throw up in space?
It'll be floating around to all your friends in space. Throw up bags. I call it affectionately known as barf bags, but the official name was emesis bags, if I remember right. It's been so long, y'all. It was 2011 when the space shuttle retired. So I'm trying to remember, but I think it was called an emesis bag, the official name. And it was folded up a little white bag like they used to have on the airplanes in the back pocket, similar to that, but folded up and they carry in their pockets. And I'm sure they probably had them like Velcroed all around the shuttle just in case they got that that moment came along. So that's what they would use, the emesis bags. And we have people that have had accidents in their helmet, and they'll just have to smell it until they can take the helmet off and clean it off.
Another question about bodily functions from Lucy. How do the astronauts go through one diaper in 3 months?
3 months? Oh, no. They only wear the diaper when they're launching and taking off, and it's their choice. They don't have to. But I always tell them, we had some astronauts that had that mental block about wearing a diaper, going on yourself. And so I suggest to them to take a diaper home and the comfort of your own home in your restroom, put it on and lie in the bathtub like you're lying in the, pretend you're lying in the space shuttle because you're going to be lying on your back. And just make yourself use it because the diaper is your friend. You do not want to be out there on that pad about to take off. It starts shaking and it might shake something out, whether you want it to or not. So, and if you do and you don't have on your diaper, guess what's going to space with you? That number 2 is going right to space with you. And I'm not there to clean your suit for you. You'll have to wear that same smelly suit all the way back home 10 days later, or however long their mission is. So no, they don't wear it for 3 months. Once they get to space, they take all of that equipment off. They have a toilet system on the rocket, on the shuttle, and that's what they use while they're there. And so, like I said, they choose to use diaper or not. 99% of them wear their diaper. You think about it, you can't even see it. You got on a baggy suit. It's not like somebody's going to see the diaper. So just wear it. I've even had to tape around some of the astronauts the top of the diaper because once again, they're lying on their back. And if they did have accident, it could still come out. So some asked me to tape around it with a little more securement. They also had little pads, extra pads. If you have a heavy bladder, you can put extra pads inserted into the diaper to help, if you have a bigger bladder. So yeah, they take it off as soon as they get to space though and put it in the wet trash.
So a couple more questions from Miss Erickson's 3rd grade class. And I'm combining a few here from Gracie and Spencer and Lucy, which is they'd like to know a little bit more about how long you worked at NASA, when you were hired, and when you retired.
Of course. Thank you. People don't usually care about that. Just the diaper. So I was in the Air Force for 7 years. And when I separated from the Air Force, I had a hard time finding a job. So 6 months later, a friend of mine that was in the Air Force with me, he was already out here in Texas working with the space program. He called and told me that they had an immediate opening. And I called and they talked to me for a little bit over the phone. Wasn't even a real interview because he had already spoken up for me and told them I was awesome and I was a great worker and all this stuff. So I got the job over the phone and I drove from California to Texas in July of 1990. I know a lot of y'all weren't even around. I got here and I started off as a spacesuit technician in the crew escape equipment department. I was in building 7 on site at JSC, Johnson Space Center. And we were there for about 6 months and then we moved off site into our own facility. But I worked there. In 94, I was the first Black crew escape equipment spacesuit technician. And then I became the first Black and first woman crew chief in crew escape. And then I went on to become the last 8 years before the space shuttle retired, I was the manager of the department. And I accomplished all of that without having a college degree. Good old hard work and doing the right thing and showing up, showing out. And doing my best all the time, always working, always trying to learn better ways to do things and always helping others. I was a trainer for pretty much everybody in my department. I was trained that came through after me. I was a trainer. So, and I loved my job. So that helped a lot. I loved what I did. And I really loved it in the Air Force as well, because it was pretty much the same job. But I was wondering if there was something else out there for me when I was in the Air Force. So I decided to separate. My original plan was to stay 20 years and retire, but that didn't happen. And didn't, because I wouldn't have had my second amazing career if I would have stayed in the Air Force 20 years. So that's how, yeah. And after the space shuttle retired, it retired a lot of us because a lot of us worked strictly space shuttle side. Like my husband still works at NASA over at the pool, the big pool where the astronauts train, the neutral buoyancy lab. He's a camera diver over there. So he's still there because he wasn't strictly on space shuttle side. So I'm kind of glad it happened the way it did, because it put me into my other career to, start thinking about writing my book and other things like that and speaking engagements. So it all worked out good. Everything fell in place like it was supposed to. As you can tell, I still love my job, even though I don't work there, because I'm constantly promoting space and other careers that you can have that's behind the scenes that people don't even know about. Like, I didn't know what a spacesuit technician was until I joined the Air Force and then got here, I had never heard of it. And a lot of times the titles aren't even called what the job is. When I came on as a spacesuit technician, the title of the job in the system was electromechanical technician. Who would have thought that's a spacesuit technician? Nobody.
Would have thought wires.
Yeah, I know. I would have thought it was an electrician or something. And so that was the title of the job in the system. So I'm like, that's not good. It's like if you read that, you're not going to read further. So it's weeding out good people that they could probably have working at the space program, is how I feel. So, but I just want the kids to know there are a lot of other ways. I know you think NASA, you think PhD and 5 degrees, but that's not always the case. It's so many support jobs behind the scenes nobody even knows about, and they don't require a college degree. But you do have to work hard, and you still do have to do your work and be smart. But you have to be trainable as well. I used to always say, I brought in a couple of young folks that had only worked with their mom and dad, maybe in their lawn service business or something like that. Turned out to be one of the best spacesuit technicians because he was trainable. You can train people on how to do the job. So keep that in mind, kids. There's other options. If you may not, I didn't have money to go to college, you may be in another situation where you just don't want to go to college. You can still be successful. Don't feel down on yourself,
That's a wonderful, wonderful message, not only about perseverance, but finding your passions.
Exactly.
That a passion can appear when you least expect it. And and in a way that you maybe didn't know you were getting in the first place, because it's got a different title.
Exactly.
But thank you so much for that, Jen. That was wonderful. So kind of transitioning, because you mentioned your book, we have a few questions about the writing of your book. So Anna wants to know, why did you write this book, and why did you want to write this book? And Thomas wants to know, how long did it take you to write it?
I'll do the easy one first. It only took me about 30 minutes to write the book, because it's what I've done my whole adult life pretty much, is work on the suit. So it was real easy to write it. And I always joke around and say a lot of COVID, because everybody had to stay at home and we couldn't do anything else. So, hey, I got time now, let me write. I've always wanted to write a children's book, but I kept putting it off putting it on the back burner, because I thought while I was still working there, it might be too much red tape. They might be like, you can't say this and you can't say that, or trying to tell, just trying to guide and tell me how to write my book, pretty much, or saying I can't write it. I don't know what they would have done. So I just kept putting it on the back burner, and then I forgot about it, and it was almost burned up. And I was like, what I do, a lot of my volunteer work that I did before I got so super busy with my book, is I would go to daycares and schools and underserved areas, and I would dress in costume, depending on what book I'm reading. I would dress as one of the characters, and I'd go out and read other people's books. And, just to keep the kids engaged and let them see me, see a Black woman that's doing these different careers and stuff. And so I decided, I need to go ahead and write my book, because I loved what I did. I always did a lot of community service, even when I was working with space program before I left. I would be, they'd allow me to go to schools and community events, and I would actually take a real suit with me, just to get the kids little light bulbs to come on and let them know, hey, this is a viable job right here. Black people do this job. Black people do work at NASA, because you still have kids that don't even know. They think that we're not the ones doing the jobs, and we're not doing, they don't know about these jobs, like the food lab and the electronics lab and tool labs. It's so many different departments they can work in. And just to give them some hope and let them know about it, just expose, engage, and inspire is my thing.
Well, I would encourage everyone who loved this book as much as me to consider purchasing a copy directly from Sharon's website. And that is, the link is in the chat. So a few more questions about, from Ms. Erickson's class about.
I love Ms. Erickson's class.
They are very enthusiastic. So another question from them was, from Madison is this the first book you've written, or have you written others?
Thank you for that question, Madison. It is my first, and there will be a series of Shay. She'll be suiting up as different things. One that I'm working on right now is Suit Up to Dive with Shay, because as I mentioned earlier, my husband is a scuba diver. So I thought it'd be fun for Shay to suit up to dive and learn about that job. So that's another job that you can acquire without a college degree.
Very cool. And then related to that question is from Madeline. Are you the author or the illustrator?
I am the author. I'm the author. But a cool story about my illustrator, a wonderful woman named Cristiel Pimenta. And, you know, the book would not be anything without the illustrations. She did such a fantastic job. I was so happy when she started sending me the illustrations. What I did, I actually put pencil to paper when I wrote the book. I didn't type it on the computer. And I drew little stick figures of kind of what I wanted things to give her an idea of what I'm looking for. The illustrating was the hardest part of the book, because I went through 2 other illustrators before I finally got Cristiel, and she finished the job. So that part is hard because it's out of your hands. You know, you hire someone to be your illustrator and you depend on them to deliver when they say they're going to deliver. And the first 2, they didn't. So I went to Facebook, went to social media, and asked people to send me, you know, examples of their work if they were really interested. And she did. And she lives in Portugal. I've never met her, never even done a Zoom. We've done everything through email. Yeah, and she came through. I love Shay. I love how she came out. And I did send her pictures of the real suit so she can kind of, you know, get it close. I didn't want it to be too technical, the book, because it's for children. So I just wanted her to get it close to what I was going to be saying. So I sent her pictures of the real suit so she can make the illustrations close to that.
Very cool. So not so much a question, but a comment. Miss Erickson herself wants to know where you got your earrings, because she, quote, needs a pair.
Ordered them. Is that not the best? Then I got to make it click, and then I got Shay on that side. And that's my book. And you know, I sold 2 books on the airplane wearing these earrings, because somebody's like, those are so cute. What? It's my book. And I saw 2 books on my last trip on the airplane. It was so funny. But they are great conversation starters. But yeah, it was a place called photoearrings.com. Hopefully they're still around, because I've had them since 2021. So, you know, a lot of little small businesses come and go. But I actually did another pair. Hold on one. That's like a little light piece of leather, and they're on Amazon. You can personalize anything. You can put your kids' pictures or anything. So they're smaller, but they still get people's attention, you know, because they see the little face and, oh, that's so cute. I'm like, well, that's my children's book. So you can go to Amazon too, if photoearrings.com isn't around anymore.
Very, very cool.
Thank you, Ms. Erickson.
Yeah. And then from one more question from Ms. Erickson's class. Okay. Ziri wants to know if animals can go to space. Back in the olden days,
they did. That's how they tested a lot of the space flights, by sending animals. And I know on May's flight on STS-47, they took like little tadpoles. And so yes, they can go to space. I was just trying to think of an example. And so they did that. They did take tadpoles, and they were doing frogs and plants and stuff like that. So
an adult went to space, right? In the 1950s.
Yeah. You had monkeys, dogs. I mean, other animals have already been to space way back, like I say, back in the old days. But I don't know of any going since I've been here. I don't know if other companies have sent any animals, like a whole full-grown animal. Like I said, I heard about the tadpoles and experiments and things like that, but that's the only animal thing I've heard about. Now, Julie, if she's still on here, she probably knows, because she's very knowledgeable with space.
Yes, and Julie also sent a message that
she
would like to invite you to Collins Airspace for the original EVA, or the spacewalk spacesuit manufacturer, because Shay needs to suit up to spacewalk.
She sure does. That might be one of my books, Julie. Suit up to do a spacewalk.
Well, Sharon, I just want to thank you so much again for joining us today and reading your book, sharing the story of Shay, and answering all of the questions about the suit, about yourself, and about bodily functions in space.
Of course.
And again, if we would encourage you to go to Sharon's website, where you can learn more about Sharon and also purchase a suit up for launch with Shay. And if you are in the DC area, Sharon will be at National Air and Space Museum this weekend, May 13th. So there is information about that in the chat. But again, Sharon, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love being here with you today and learning about Shay and all about the kind of the jobs maybe in the background at NASA that are incredibly important and make everything work.
That's right. Thank you guys for having me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And please, if you still have questions that we may not have gotten to, you can shoot me an email through my website.
All right. And thank you everyone again for joining us and spending your Wednesday afternoon. And hopefully we'll see you at another Brave Girls. Again, Sharon, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.